Hello everyone, welcome back to this week's episode of Classic Automotive Services. So we're going to start off this week with an update on the TR8. On Monday I managed to spend a few hours on it and got battery leads reinstalled on it as they'd gone walkies. I managed to again get the electrics worked out because it had some bits and bobs done to it which I had no power anywhere on the whole car. But I managed to get it so the car actually come to life again. We got all the electrics up and running on the car, all the lights are working, dash lights are working, the whole electrical system of the car is now working. And we actually got it to fire up. So what we did, we put some fresh fuel in the tank because it had virtually nothing in it anyway. So we put a couple of gallons of fresh fuel in the tank. Got the pump to run, because obviously it's fuel injected, so it's got a high pressure pump on it. So we got the fuel pump to run. We fixed a major fuel leak that we had initially, because as soon as we got the pump to run, it just decided it was going to push fuel out everywhere. We fixed that one. It was only one length of pipe, and then started trying to get it to run. We first of all took all the spark plugs out, put a little bit of lubrication down the bores, and cranked it over, got oil pressure up. As these rover lumps, they can be a bit of an arse to get the pumps to prime, especially when they've not been run for a while. So we got the oil pressure up, cleaned the plugs, put them back in, and it coughed and spluttered and eventually fired up. We couldn't run it for very long as most of the joints on the fuel system are leaking. Once it fired, it started to get fuel around everywhere and it started to weep. So we ran it for about 10 or 15 seconds. It was on all 8 cylinders, and the engine sounded absolutely great. So we've knocked it off, and that's as far as we can be able to go with running it until we pull the engine out and go through it all. We'd have to go through every single connection and clean up everything on the fuel injection system. But it took a little bit of working out on the wiring, but we did get it, and it sounded really, really good. So that's a massive step forward on this car. Next step on this car is to strip it. So we'll get all the running gear out of this car. Pardon me. We get all the running gear out of this car. Get certain components sent off for refurbishment, like the air conditioning system. That'll be going away for reconditioning. I'm going to speak to the customer, but I'd like to get the injectors thoroughly cleaned and flow tested to make sure that they are all matched and they're all working as efficiently as possible. Bits got off powder coating and plating, things like that. We'll get it all stripped, get it all bagged up and labelled up, what's got to go where to get it all sorted out, ready to be reassembled. And while that's all away being done, that's when we'll start getting that stripped, and we'll get that car completely stripped to a shell and start doing a couple of small repairs on it. There's a small repair on the front wing to do and change the roof skin over, and then get that prepped and painted, ready to start taking all the new running gear back into it. So yeah, we've had a stroke of luck with this one, as I was a little bit nervous with working with that injection system, but it paid off and it fired up and it was on 8 cylinders, so there's nothing really greatly wrong with it other than a few mechanical issues with leaks and stuff. So that's that one. We're going to have a look at the Purple Stag now. Okay, right, the Purple Stag, it's now pretty much externally complete. We've got a few hours on it here and there. We've now got all the horseshoes back on. We managed to find some really nice ones that were actually original re-chrome ones. The source the customer actually found has actually got some new old stock ones as well. So we're glad we managed to find him, as they're not available anymore. But that's a nice contact to have. So yeah, we've got all the trimmers back on it. Got the grille refurbished with a new grille badge and all back on, number plates on, and if we go round the back, so we've got the mirrors on it, B-post covers are all on, and we've got the same on the back. We've got all the rear lights fully refurbished, as again they take a little bit of time to refurbish them. They're original lights, they're not been re-chromed or anything like that. We had boxes and boxes of lights and we mixed and matched all the parts to have a nice pair of lenses. So we stripped them all down, changed fixings over again, because again some of them had sheared fixings and others had good chrome, so we mixed and matched all the parts, stripped them, refurbished them, new light gaskets inside them, new gaskets from the body to the light units themselves, refurbished all the bulb holders, because if anyone knows what the Triumph and the British Leyland cards are like with the bulb holders, they're a nightmare. Get a tiny little bit of corrosion on them and they don't work. So, but you can actually get the original ones apart if you're careful and clean them up, put them back together, and they're good again. So we've refurbished all the bulb holders. They're all working. Again, fit the number plate and the horseshoes and all the trims. And we've got the new tailpipes on it, because the original tailpipes, the baffles, they're all rotted and sort of disintegrated, and they sounded rubbish. So we've got a new set of big bore tailpipes. So on the Stags, they're not any louder, they just deepen the note and make it sound a bit more throaty. The rest of the system is completely standard. The only difference is the tailpipes. We've also now fitted the boot rubber, which is one thing I want to show people. All the boot rubbers that you get from all the local suppliers, not the local suppliers, sorry, all the Triumph suppliers, they're the wrong one. They don't fit. You have to slam your boot to get it shut, and when they do shut, they're sticking up. It's pushing the boot out of shape, and it's all because on the boot on the Stag, the gripper on the rubber, you've got a little bit with grips onto the flange as a 10mm gripper, not a 13mm gripper, which like the doors have and all the other rubbers on the car have. So with a bigger gripper, it holds the rubber up a bit more. That's all it is. So we've got good sources to find the correct rubbers, and they fit perfectly. You fit the rubber and there's no slam in the boot. It just, when they're all adjusted right, it works absolutely perfectly. Something else that we do, which is actually something that my dad came up with when I worked with him. The boot boards in the Stag are originally like a fibre type compressed cardboard sort of thing, is the best way to describe them, I think. And they warp, they distort, you can't put any weight on them, they're rubbish. But what he came up with was to use the original boards as a template and cut some nice plywood boards, so you can actually put a lot more weight on it. It actually gives a nice flat boot floor. So that's a trick he came up with, and I've stuck with it since. So that's the inside of the boot, and if I show you, the boot closes exactly as it should do. No effort at all, and it lines up perfectly. If you look at the lines on the boot, it sits flush like it should do. It sits flush there. It lines up absolutely perfectly. So that's the update on the Stag. We have got the other two Stags, which we're not allowed to show you. Customers are, again, I'll repeat what I said last week, the customers asked us not to put them on camera. They're having some work done. So yeah, we haven't just been doing that and that. We've got a lot of other stuff on as well. So, but one thing I'm gonna go and talk about is thermostats on the Stags. As while I was doing some work on one of them, I come across it, which is a really common issue on Stags, and I've seen it so many times on Facebook, people saying about you can remove the thermostat and everything else, and you can't. I'm going to show you why. So let's go and have a look at the thermostats. Right, here we have one of the thermostats that I pulled out of one of the Stags, and it's totally the wrong thermostat. That's just the universal standard thermostat, which most cars have that in them. But the Stags, TR7s, Dolomite Sprints, you cannot fit that into one and expect the car to stay cool. It will actually do the opposite. It will eventually overheat. So I haven't actually got the new one, because I've already fitted it. But on the Stags, TR7s, Dolomite Sprints, Dolomite 1850, they all have that thermostat exactly like that, but then they have an extension on the bottom of them. So that's about ½ inch longer, with a little, it's got a little spring on it with a little foot. And when that opens, it gets hot, it opens, that little foot actually blanks off the return to the water pump. I've got a manifold here, it's TR7 manifold, but same principle on all of them. What it does, when the thermostat opens, if you can see just inside there, just in there, that's the return to the water pump. So when the thermostat is shut, water circulating around your engine, and doesn't go through the top radiator hose into the radiator. It goes straight through here, straight back down to the pump, and circulates around your engine until it gets up to temperature. So if you don't have that foot on the thermostat, when the thermostat opens, you still get a good percentage of your water that isn't cooled. It's hot water going straight back down into your water pump, because you've got to think you've got your water pump under here sucking. So it sucks the water straight down there when it hasn't gone through the radiator and been cooled, straight back around the engine. So your engine eventually gets hotter and hotter and hotter and then overheats. So it is vital that you have the correct thermostat in these cars. We run a 74-degree thermostat in them, because most of them are used during the summer anyway, and it also just helps them stay that little bit cooler. And yeah, there is some water that will go through your radiator, but a good percentage of it goes through there as well when you haven't got the correct thermostat, because at the end of the day, water will always take the shortest route it can, especially when you've got a water pump sat right underneath it sucking it. So it is vital that you have the correct thermostat in the cars. And I very often see on Facebook people saying, oh, Stags, TR7s, Dolomites, it's running a bit warm, take the thermostat out. No, do not ever do that, because then again you've got a big hole there, but you've still got nothing blanking off your return to the pump. If you didn't want to run a thermostat in one of these cars for whatever reason, then you'd have to blank that off. So when you take your thermostat out, blank that off, then you could in theory run no thermostat, but there is no reason to do that, not on these cars. Like I said, if it's running a little bit warm in the summer months, we run a 74-degree thermostat. Never ever have an issue with it. And if it is running warm, it's generally because the cooling system's sludged up, because people aren't maintaining them properly. It actually states in the original service schedules for the Stags, TR7s and everything else, that every 2 years or 20,000 miles, whichever one comes first, you should fully drain the water system, flush it with water to flush out any sludge, and reinstate the antifreeze. And you have to run the antifreeze all year round in them. You can't change it out and run it just with water, because you're going to get a lot of corrosion in your cylinder heads. So yeah, put the correct thermostat in the car. If anyone ever tells you that you can take the thermostat out on a Stag, a TR7, Dolomite Sprint or an 1850, they're talking crap. Do not listen to them. Another thing to look out for is most of the thermostats, well, especially the cheaper ones, are not coming with a little bleed hole in them. They should have either, it's about a 3mm hole, or a 3mm hole with a little plastic sort of ball in it, which is there to bleed the water system off. If you haven't got that hole when you're changing it and refilling the water system, it's nearly impossible to bleed the system off properly. It will take forever and it will get hot very, very quickly, and you get airlocks. It's a nightmare to try and bleed them off. So if you haven't got a bleed hole in your thermostat, just get a 3mm drill and just put a little tiny 3mm hole on in the thermostat, and that'll be fine. Absolutely fine. You'll have no issues with that whatsoever. And like I said, we run a 74-degree in our cars, and they always run absolutely fine, especially when they've been flushed properly with the correct antifreeze in them as well. They always run absolutely fine, even in the middle of summer. Never had an issue with one getting hot. So it all comes down to maintenance and fitting correct parts. That's one of the reasons why the car got a bad name back in the day. They weren't maintained correctly. So I think that is it for this week, for what we've got. Trying to think what we're going to have coming in next week. Probably not a great deal of difference next week. We'll press on with the Stag purple one and get that sorted out, and also the other two under the cover. Once I've got them gone, then I can concentrate on starting to do some work on the 8. So yeah, so we've got hopefully a Bristol coming in, and a Dolomite Sprint as well coming in very shortly for some work. So that'll be one to look out for. One thing I forgot to mention on the Stag is the next process we've got to do on it. Now it's externally complete. The next step for us on that is to remove the hood off of it. We're going to refurbish all the rear hood well cover. We've got the parts for that now, as it's been painted, but we need to fit the foam, the black vinyl, recondition all the trims and put them on it. Get that on the car adjusted correctly, get the hood frame working correctly and adjusted, and then we're now not going to powder coat it. We spoke to the customer and said, you know, I personally wasn't a fan of getting it powder coated. There's a lot of work involved, and I think this is going to cause a lot more issues than it's going to solve. You don't see a great deal of the frame on the car anyway, so I recommended once we get it all adjusted properly, lined up and working as it should do, we'll take the frame off the car, we'll rub it all down, we'll prime it and wet paint it, so it's going to be just as good looks wise, work perfectly. Once we've got the hood frame on it, we can then put the hood on it. That is the next stage. So the cabin is then sealed. Once the cabin's sealed, then we're going to rip out the interior and do all the carpets, seats and everything else, and that'll be then pretty much finished. So that is the next stage on the Stag, on the purple one. The other two, well, one of them I should have that sorted by probably, I reckon, Tuesday, Wednesday at the latest. That should be all done and sorted. And then the other one maybe before the end of the week, depending on how it goes with the purple one. So please like and subscribe, as the subscribers are really coming up now, and we're getting quite a lot of interest and quite a bit of work out of it. So thank you all for the subscribers that have subscribed, but we would like some more, so we can progress. So yeah, please hit that subscribe button and the like button, and we'll see you next week. Hey everyone, we're just going to put a small little bit in the video at the end. We're actually at home now, enjoying this nice Sunday evening. But when we got home, we actually found some pictures on our Facebook, when we're going through Facebook and everything, of the Wolseley at the Tatton Park show. There's only 2 pictures, one of the Tatton Park banner and another one of the car, but we're going to put them in at the end of the video, just so you can see the car at the show. From the picture we saw, it looked absolutely lovely out in the sunshine. So enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening and enjoy a couple of photographs.